Namaste. The real knowledge is not derived from the textbooks. The real knowledge is your own experience, your own self realization. When you turn inward, and then whatsoever you realize is the real knowledge to which we address as wisdom. There are many people and they are very jealous because they think that I have done PhD in astrology, I have done masters in astrology. Then how come this man is so popular? How come this man is being followed by so many people? They are jealous because whole life they have only spent their time in reading the textbooks. It is not going to help. If that was the case, then everybody would have understood the deeper meaning of astrology. The textbooks are just guide, just a start. But if you stick to it, you are finished. In the ancient days, these kind of people were called pandits. And they had a lot of ego because they had almost read thousands of books. Like a parrot, they have all by-hearted everything. So one day they came to test a great spiritual master. His name was Akkalkot Swami Samarth. He was a great spiritual master, and these all pandits came and they said that now you should debate with us. Swami said, "What are you doing? I am not interested in it. Please get out." But they said, "No, I want to debate." See, all these pandits, PhD holders, textbook scholars. But Swamiji said, this is not required. But they insisted no, because their agenda was something else. They wanted to defeat Swami. They wanted to defeat the master. So the Swami, he said, I will not debate. Then the Pandit said, who will debate then? So as Swami was just observing, there was a young man passing by. He was a illiterate farmer. Swamiji called him. He was a devotee of Swamiji. So he came. So Swamiji said that this man will debate with you. So they all had like, we are Pandits, PhD holders, and who is this illiterate man? How will he debate with us? Swamiji said, that is not your problem. I have said he will debate, he will debate. And then Swamiji got up and he just drew 7 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And Swamiji said to him that you first cross the first line. The young man crossed the first line and he went back to his past life. In his past life, he was a tribal person. Then Swamiji said the next line. Then in that past life, he was of some soldier. And like that, every line he crossed, and for every line, he used to remember his past life. And finally, when he crossed the 7th line, he realized that in his past life, he was a great scholar, just like these people. And then Swamiji said, now you debate. And since in his past life, he was the master of all scholars, he started debating with these so-called Pandits. And he was so strong that he defeated everybody. So through this miracle, Swami made these idiots realize that all this ego of your knowledge, that to which you have acquired through your textbooks, is ridiculous. Because he showed them that every past birth, this man has gone through different levels of consciousness. On the very seventh, he was a scholar. But before that, he was a tribal person. So Swamiji wanted to show them that this is how the journey of life is. That today you may be a PhD holder, a so-called scholar. Tomorrow, in the next life, you can even become a illiterate tribal person. So what is there to have ego? Why to have this kind of ego? But that is how people make an ass of themselves. Even on my channel, you may have seen some idiots try to exhibit their intellectualism through their comments on my channel, whereas I have not asked them. But this is how general public is. What I am trying to convey to you all is that don't go by this scholar and PhD and Pandit and all these things. Just see, try to identify the person and his depth through your own heart. And that you will be able to do only when you yourself have started turning inwards. And so in this podcast, I have specifically mentioned about certain planets that tend to make you more bookish. And then there are planets that set you free. Love, wisdom, everything comes when you are totally free from a specific set of mind. In the stage of no mind, truth descends like light. The reason you all have connected with me, that reason is that you are also just like me. It always happens. You always like that thing which is also within you. And so, in this podcast, I have talked briefly about the planets that set you free, whereas the planets that pull you more towards this bookish mentality. And always remember, as you succeed, as you progress in life, there will be many people who will be jealous of you. They will try to pull your legs. They will try all sort of things. But I tell you, if you remain rooted within yourself, and if you stay devoted to your master, nothing ever can go wrong. कुछ तो लोग बोलेंगे, some kind of this song was there. कुछ तो लोग कहेंगे, लोगों का काम है कहना. Small minds always gossip, always talk about other people. Great minds are always looking for innovative ideas. You have to decide what to follow, whom to follow. Because what you follow is what you become. Always remember, love, but love something of higher altitude. Because love is contagious. Whatsoever you love, you become exactly like that. And you will be able to love something of higher altitude only when you come out of those textbooks and you start focusing with Him through deep meditation and daily chanting. So let's begin with this podcast. There is a beautiful quote. It says, "And those who were seen dancing were thought to be insane by those who could not hear the music." When you are too much into your head, how you will be able to hear the music? Music can be heard only by those who are following their heart and not the head. Always remember, head is noisy because head is all logic and intellectualism, whereas heart is silent, peaceful, because heart is all love and intelligence. There is a difference between intellectualism and intelligence. Intellectualism is just your noisy head filled with dry logic. Intelligence is when your head is in sync with your heart. That is when intelligence is born. In astrology, Mercury and Nakshatras ruled by Mercury is all head, intellectualism. Whereas Jupiter, Nakshatras ruled by Jupiter is all heart. That is why Mercury is a staunch enemy of Jupiter. Mercury has absolutely no Vivek. Vivek means the sense of righteousness. Mercury is just dry logic, calculative logic that is happy to count money, earn money, debate, and gather all sorts of information from all around the world to which it assumes as knowledge. And so all these so-called Pandits and PhD holders are primarily ruled by Mercury. They usually have more planets in contact with Mercury, either through house, nakshatra, aspect or conjunction. However, that is not enough. Along with it, if they also have their moon in contact with Rahu and Mercury through house, nakshatra, aspect or conjunction, then these are exactly those idiotic Pandits that are too much into their head and have a very fat ego of their so-called textbook knowledge. They are like those Pandits who had come to exhibit their bookish knowledge to the great spiritual master, because their agenda is always to prove their intellectual supremacy over others. These kind of noisy, arrogant heads eventually fall from the grace, and in the next birth cycle they are back to zero, meaning they have to go through inferior birth cycles. And then there are these beautiful, good-hearted fellows ruled by Guru Jupiter. They are not bookish. They read books just to find direction, but then they start exploring their own journey through their own real life experiences. These kind of men and women are not very loud and arrogant like those idiotic Pandits. They are very humble, grounded, and they always respect others' point of view. They usually never ridicule others by commenting negatively. If they disagree or dislike, then they will simply disconnect, but they will never hurt others because they understand the language of heart. And so when the horoscope is inclined more towards Jupiter with a flavor of Ketu associated with moon or Mars associated with moon, then usually the native is a follower of his heart and not the head. Apart from the Mercury and Jupiter categorization, the other important part
is the positioning of the moon. If the moon is placed in unconventional houses such as the 6th house, 8th house or 12th house, and your chart is inclined more towards Jupiter, then you simply are a man of heart. You can jump, you can take risk, you can hear the music which others can't. And so to summarize, depending on which side your horoscope is inclining, you will emerge as an intellectual fellow or an intelligent fellow. If your horoscope is inclining more towards Mercury, Rahu, Venus or Saturn, then you are a typically intellectual fellow who may earn good money but is always trapped in his head, dry logic and calculations. Whereas if your horoscope is more inclined towards Jupiter, Ketu, Mars, Sun or Moon, then you are a beautiful, good-hearted fellow who can understand the language of heart. You can understand Jesus more, you can understand Buddha more, you can understand Mahavira more because you follow your heart. You are more focused on your heart. You listen to the voice of your heart. You are less in your head and more in your heart. You are a man who would not hesitate to say those 3 magical words spontaneously. I love you. Because love is spontaneous. You never know when you fall in love. But a typical intellectual, logical person will say, I think I love you. Now what is there to think? Either you love or you don't love. But that is how an intellectual, logical fellow is. And so these people may earn millions of dollars through their intellectualism. But they are dry like those arid desert lands. And then you have those juicy fellows. They dance, they sing, they are very natural. And God comes to such fellows because to be natural is to be beautiful. Always remember, only a man of heart can cry. A typical calculative, logical, intellectual pandit or person cannot cry. He cannot cry because what will people think if I cry? You see, even when it comes to crying, such a person goes on applying his logical head. But a man of heart is just like a candle. He melts, he cries, and his crying is spontaneous. He never thinks at all. He simply expresses his innermost feelings through his tears. Always remember, never be ashamed of your tears. Be proud that you are still natural. Be proud that you can express the inexpressible through your tears. Tears are the most valuable treasures. Reminds me of a beautiful story that moved my heart and brought tears to my eyes. And who knows, it may bring tears to your eyes as well. There was a boy. His name was Satyakam. He did not believe in anything unless he had experienced it. When he became a young man, he must have been near about the age of 12. He said to his mother, now it is time. The prince of the kingdom has gone to the forest to join the family of a seer. He is my age. I also want to go. I also want to learn what this life is all about. The mother said, it is very difficult, Satyakam, but I know that you are a born seeker. I was afraid that one day you would ask me to send you to a master. I am a poor woman, but that is not a great difficulty. The difficulty is that when I was young, I served in many houses. I was poor, but I was beautiful. I don't know who your father is, and if I send you to a master, you are going to be asked what the name of your father is, and I am afraid they may reject you. But there is no harm in making an effort. You go and tell the truth in the same way I have told you the truth. Many men have used my body because I was poor. Just say that you don't know who your father is. Tell the master that your name is Satyakam. Your mother's name is Jabala. So they can call you Satyakam Jabala. And as far as the search for truth is concerned, who your father is does not matter. Satyakam went to an ancient seer in the forest, and sure enough, the first question was, "What is your name? Who is your father?" And he repeated exactly what his mother had said. There were many disciples, princes, rich people's sons. They all started laughing. But the old master said, "I will accept you. It does not matter who your father is. What matters is that you are authentic, sincere, unafraid, capable of saying the truth without feeling embarrassed. Your mother has given you the right name, Satyakam." Satyakam means one whose only desire is truth. You have a beautiful mother and you will be known as Satyakam Jabal. And the tradition is that only Brahmins can be accepted as disciples. I declare you a Brahmin because only a Brahmin can have the courage of such truth. Those were beautiful days. The old seer's name was Uddhalak. Satyakam became his most loved disciple. He deserved it. He was so pure and so innocent. But Uddhalak had his own limitations. Although he was a man of great learning, he was not an enlightened master. So he taught Satyakam all the scriptures. He taught him everything that he was capable of, but he could not deceive Satyakam as he had been deceiving everybody else. Not that Satyakam was raising any doubts. It was just that his innocence had such power that the old man had to confess. Whatever I have been telling you is knowledge gathered from the scriptures. It is not my own. I have not experienced it. I have not lived it. I suggest that you go deeper into the forest. I know a man who has realized, who has become an embodiment of truth, love, compassion. Go to him. Uddhalak had heard about the man, but did not know the man personally. Uddhalak was far more famous. He was a great scholar. Satyakam went to the other man. This man taught him many new scriptures and all the Vedas, the most ancient scriptures of the world. After many years, he told him, "Now you know everything. There is nothing more to know. You can go back home." And so, Satyakam went back to Uddhalak. From his window, Uddhalak saw Satyakam coming on the footpath through the forest. He was shocked. Satyakam's innocence was lost. In place of innocence, there was pride. Naturally, because now he thought he knew everything in the world that is worth knowing. The very idea of so ego-fulfilling. He came in. As he started to touch the feet of Uddhalak, Uddhalak said, "Don't touch my feet. First I want to know where you have lost your innocence. It seems I have sent you to the wrong person." Satyakam said, "To the wrong person? He has taught me everything that is worth knowing." Uddhalak said, "Before you touch my feet, I would like to ask you, have you experienced anything, or it is just information? Has any transformation happened? Can you say that whatever you know is your knowledge?" Satyakam said, I cannot say that. What I know is written in the scriptures. I have not experienced anything. And so, here it is necessary to note that the teacher who taught Satyakam all about the scriptures was just a plain intellectual pandit, a scholar, or in today's language, a typical PhD holder. But by learning under such a dry person, Satyakam also had become dry. He lost his innocence. He was no more the old Satyakam, the poet. Uddalak realized his own mistake. He should not have sent such a beautiful boy to a pandit. So Uddalak looked at Satyakam and said, Go back, but now go to another person I have came to know about. And unless you have experienced, don't come back. You have come here not more than when I sent you, but less. You have lost something of immense value. And what you call knowledge, if it is borrowed, it only covers your ignorance. It does not make you a knower. Go to this man and tell him that you have not come for more information about truth, about God, about love. Tell him you have come to know truth, to know love, to know God. Tell him if you can fulfill the promise, only then waste my time. Otherwise, I will find another master. Satyakam said exactly this. The master was sitting under a tree with a few of his disciples. After listening to the request, he said, It is possible, but you are asking something very difficult. There are so many disciples here. They all want more knowledge. They want to know about this and about that. But if you insist that you are not interested in information, that you are ready to do anything, that your devotion to truth is total, then I will find a way for you. Satyakam said, I am ready to sacrifice my life, but I cannot go without knowing the truth. Neither can I go to my teacher, nor can I go to my mother, who has given me the name Satyakam. And my teacher accepted me without knowing whether I was a Brahmin or not, just on the simple grounds that I was truthful. Tell me what has to be done. The master said, Take all these cows that you see here deep into the forest. Go as deep as possible so you don't come in contact again with any human being. The purpose is that you forget language, you forget words, live with the cows, take care of the cows, play on your flute, dance, but forget words. And when the cows have grown to 1,000, come back. The other disciples could not believe what was happening, because there were just a dozen or 2 dozen cows. How long is it going to take for them to become 1,000? But Satyakam took the cows, went as deep as possible into the forest, beyond human contact, beyond human context. For a few days it was very difficult, but slowly the cows were his only company. And they are very silent people. He played on the flute. He danced alone in the forest. He rested under the trees. For a few years, he continued to count the cows. Then by and by, he dropped it, because it seemed impossible that they would become 1,000. And moreover, he was forgetting how to count. Language was disappearing. Words disappeared. Counting could not be saved. And the story is so immensely beautiful. The cows became worried when they became 1,000, because they wanted to go back home, and this man had forgotten how to count. Finally, the cows decided, we have to speak, otherwise this lonely forest is going to become our grave. So one day the cows caught hold of him and told him, Listen, Satyakam, we are now 1,000, and it is time to go back home. He said, I am very grateful to you. I am very grateful to you. If you had not told me, I had even forgotten about home or about returning. Each moment was so tremendously beautiful, so many blessings. In the silence, flowers went on showering. I had forgotten everything. I had no idea why I had come here, who I am. Everything had become an end in itself. Playing the flute was enough. Resting under the trees was enough. Seeing the beautiful cows sitting silently all around was so beautiful. But if you insist, we should return. The disciples of the great master saw him coming with 1,000 cows. They reported to the master, we had never believed that he would come back. He is coming, and we have counted exactly 1,000 cows. He is coming. And when he came, he stood there, just in the crowd of cows. The master said to the other disciples, you counted wrong. There are 1,001 cows. You forgot to count Satyakam. He has moved beyond your world. He has entered into the innocent, the silent, the mysterious. He is not saying anything. He is just standing there as the cows are standing there. The master said, Satyakam, come out. Now you have to go to your other master who sent you here. He is an old man and he must be waiting. Your mother must be waiting. And when Satyakam came to Udalak, his first teacher, who had not allowed him to touch his feet because he had lost his innocence, he was no longer a Brahmin. He had fallen. He had become just a knowledgeable parrot. As Udalak saw him from the window again, he ran out the back door. Because now Satyakam cannot be allowed to touch his feet. Now Udalak would have to touch Satyakam's feet, because Udalak was still a scholar and Satyakam was coming not as a scholar but as one who is awakened. Udalak escaped from the house. He said, I cannot face him. I am ashamed of myself. Just tell him, he told his wife, that Udalak is dead and he can go now to his mother. Tell him, I died remembering him. These were people made of different metal. Satyakam went back home. The mother had become very old, but she had waited and waited and waited. And she said, you have proved, Satyakam, the truth is always victorious. And you have proved that a Brahmin is not born. A Brahmin is a quality to be achieved. Everybody by his birth is a Shudra, because everybody's birth is the same. One has to prove by purifying himself, by crystallizing himself, by becoming centered and enlightened, that he is a Brahmin. Just to be born into the family of a Brahmin does not make you a Brahmin. My friends, if you meditate on this beautiful story, you will realize that it was not the scholarly Pandit who enabled Satyakam attain the supreme consciousness. In fact, he spoiled Satyakam by making him a parrot who just by hearts the scriptures. But the next master was not a Pandit. He was the supreme consciousness, the master of all masters. And by following the word of this great master, Satyakam attained the supreme state of consciousness. Life is not logic. Life is all that is beyond logic. The moment you understand this, the moment you self-realize this, you will be the next Satyakam Jabal, and I will wait for this transformation to happen. It always happens when you are willing to surrender at the feet of the Master. Love to all my followers. The very fact that you are following me is a sign that you are getting ready to blossom into a beautiful flower. Jai Sri Ganesha, Jai Guru.
Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha.